Hello and welcome everyone to yet another episode of FPL Escapades. After game week 2, today we're here to discuss about game week 3. I'm Kshitij and as always I am joined by two of my best friends Akshay and Anand. We sit back again after what was an amazing record-breaking game week for the English Premier League where a total of 44 goals was scored courtesy Gabriel Jesus' 95th minute goal against Wolves. Akshay, great game week to return to. Personally, for me, did not have a lot of points returned. I'm only at 55, and that too courtesy the clean sheet from Martinez. How was your game week, dude?
Yeah, great game week from a scoring perspective, but personally, I did not get lucky with either a Son or a Kane haul. So I started off big with DCL's hat trick, but then ended up only on 49 points. So not really a game week that I was hoping for because I think I've spoken about this in the previous season as well that I'm targeting a 60-point game week on an average. But then what I feel is this is more of an anomaly because you'll not see Son scoring 4 goals every week and Kane assisting all four of them. So it's a very small sample space to look into right now, and you should not go for knee-jerk decisions. But having said that, I have already triggered my wild card, so I should not be saying that, to be very honest. But that decision is up to you. Like if you look at your team and if your team needs surgery, I think you should go for the wild card right now because when you have the clear idea of which teams are looking good, I think you can go on them. For example, Everton are looking really good, so people are doubling and tripling up on them. And City, after their game against Wolves, I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Too many, assets to talk about, and too many assets that everybody wants in their team after DCLs and Son's hat tricks of 700,000 and almost close to 650, 100,000 managers have respectively gotten in DCL and Son in their team already as we speak right now. Anand, you were out of the three of us, you were the only one to have Son in your team. So did that make it a worthwhile game week for you?
It was okayish, to be honest. I scored 69 points, but okayish because when you play a card such as Wildcard or any of the chips, you expect to be on the higher side, say 90 or the 100. At least that's what my target is. Also, at the same time, I in my game week 1, I had Pereira, Mane, and Robertson, who ended up returning again in game week 2, and I did not have them. Rather, instead of Pereira, I had KDB, and instead of Mane, I had Son. I mean, so yeah, in a way, uh, happy with the decisions taken to bring in players in the wild card. But overall, I feel if I would have waited one more week, I would have scored pretty much similar points. Like for example, I even had Mitrovic, and Mitro in game week 2 scored a brace, and I got in Bamford. So Bamford got in similar points, but then again, I could have just waited just one more week. But overall, happy. I think I'm content with how things went by, and I think I have players that I trust more. For example, I got in Pereira with a lot of hope, but the way West Brom is playing right now, it's a bit concerning. It feels like they're short in midfield, they're short in defense, and they need to strengthen over there. And until that time, you know, maybe on their day they can sneak a win or a draw or something like that. But otherwise, it looks like a downhill for West Brom. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And as Akshay said, even I have triggered my wild card. My game week started off with Pereira giving an assist and giving me 10 points and was at the end saved by Martinez with a penalty save and a clean sheet, which I did call or hoped for. Definitely my prayers being answered. But yeah, before that Aston Villa game, I saw my game week going down the hill and, uh, triggered that anger or frustration of an FPL manager that we are going to see going forward. So yeah, I triggered it on the second day. Thankfully, Martinez saved my game week. That is the name of the game. That is why we hate and love FPL at the same time. So yeah, boys, jumping into game week 3, looking forward to it. And as always, we start off with our essentials. All of us were discussing about how the wildcard playing managers for this game week are acting smartly, wherein they're selling off Timo Werner at 9.5 and trying to get him back when his price eventually drops at 9.4. It hasn't dropped yet, but definitely I myself for one have sold him, but I'm looking to get him back and might also captain him, looking at his fixtures again, a fixture against West Bromwich. Really interesting choice this, for a forward. He hasn't really returned or hasn't had that great start to the FPL season or the EPL season as a lot of people were expecting. But with his ownership of 36%, does will definitely hurt you if you don't have him in your team, and he ends up firing. And yeah, just before recording, as Anand was saying about the law of averages, it is high time that Werner starts giving his returns. And coming on to the midfielder, I mean, Son, definitely, as Akshay, you said that uh, out of the 38 game weeks, there are a couple of game weeks wherein a player like Son or any player for that matter is going to give you 4 goals or a hat trick. Not every week that is going to happen. And obviously, since I did miss that train, and now seeing Son's ownership skyrocket as well, definitely, gives you that numbing feeling as to have you like missed out on what would have been a great opportunity when you see some managers playing triple captain on him returning 24 points. That does hurt your gut. Yeah, and also I'm looking at Everton tripling up. I don't think I'll triple up on them as of yet, but Digne looks a great prospect for me as well. Everton looking sort of shaky on in the defense, conceding a couple of goals to West Brom as well. But yeah, Digne was really all over the pitch and has that long throw in him, and also takes some corners and set pieces as well. So these three for me, like while I'm wild carding them, are some players that I'm looking forward to. Anand, what are your picks for essentials going into game week 3?
Jimenez is the guy, not only just for this game week, but for the next 5, 6 game weeks. His fixtures are clean, and he looks set to return some points. And if not, the good thing about Jimenez is he keeps on taking. He sometimes drifts out on the wings, and he puts in those crosses. So he looks like a really good pick for me. Then talking about KDB, I think he's the set and forget guy. We can't argue about that. He was the best player in the league last season, and in the first game week against Wolves, he showed his true quality once again. And I think defense-wise, I would like to point out Doherty. So Doherty is kind of a defender who does like to get into the box. And if you remember in the last match as well, um, he he almost gave an assist to Harry Kane, but it was ruled offside. So and that and so I think in the first match as well, there was a 1v1 situation where Doherty came really close on scoring, and so I think the point that you like pretty much, which is the law of average point, I think it applies over here, on Doherty. I think he might get returns against Newcastle, who's been shaky a little bit for sure. Like their defensive woes continues. Although they're expecting some players back, Doherty could be a good shout for that game week. And I think keepers, apart from the names over here, I don't see anybody else who could be an essential for this game week. Say David De Gea, if he comes back against Brighton. Brighton looking really really solid, uh, both attacking wise and defensive wise. But the thing is, with the teams like Brighton, they give the players from United a chance to run at them. And perhaps if United can score one or two goals, then it might just get difficult for Brighton to score. And David could be one great option for this game week once again.
Yeah, interesting. But looking at the transfer outs for this game week, a lot of people have already started transferring out Bruno. But I don't see say Martial or anybody from defense, say Shaw or Maguire or Wan-Bissaka getting transferred out so much. So I think there's still a lot of panic selling and panic buying going on. But Akshay, talking about panic buying and panic selling, I for one have already activated my wildcard chip, and so have you. So what do you, or say what do you think of when say playing a wild card this early in the season? Essential wise, do you just look out for a couple of games in the future, or looking at all the players that we have on the screen, are you planning for a longer haul with some of the players?
Yeah, so with the list of players we have on the screen right now, I think wildcarders will end up with possibly 4 or 5 of these players already. So I'll just shed some light on the points that you guys made. So Timo Werner, I think he's drifting a little too wide for me, and he's not getting in the box right now. So what I feel is against West Brom he might get those spaces, but I'd like to give Chelsea more time when they get their assets like Ziyech and Pulisic back, and that is when we'll get to see the best of Timo Werner. So I had Havertz last week, and I was really disappointed when Lampard took him off at halftime after going down to 10 men. So coming to Jimenez, I think I brought him in my wildcard team, and he looks like a set and forget till the end of the season, unless there are jitters in Wolves' season going forward. And he's a lovely player to have in your team because he loves to take shots, and he had 8 shots in 2 games. So 3 of them were on target, and if he was a little lucky against Manchester City, he would have got a brace there as well because he missed a few chances. And coming to midfield, I already spoke about Son being an anomaly because I don't see him scoring 4 goals every week. Yes, he might get those spaces in behind against Newcastle because Lamptey troubled Jamal Lewis heavily, and Son and Doherty might get a lot of spaces in behind because we've seen Kane dropping in behind and feeding those balls over the top. So Newcastle could find themselves vulnerable there. And I don't think I need to speak about Salah and KDB anymore because those guys have been racking up 200 points every season. And if you are on a wild card, those names will be the first on your team sheet.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, also the coming homecoming of Gareth Bale again. So definitely, he is still injured and might take him a month or so to come back. But definitely great to have him back again in the Premier League. 9.5, a little too costly for me, and might not get him back straight away. But yeah, once he starts playing and then definitely shows his pace that he's been, saving his legs from with all the golf that he's been playing at Madrid. Definitely looks might be a great punt, but you never know. So yeah, definitely a lot of essentials and still only 2 game weeks. So you definitely we can only look at the next upcoming game weeks. With that, we would wrap up our essential picks for game week 3, and now we're going to move to the differentials. So yeah, looking at all of these names, definitely Van de Beek, the only United asset to have any kind of a saving grace with. Personally, for me, was a shambolic performance against Crystal Palace, and as a United fan, you would not want your team to start off the season like on that note, wherein we would did not really see any of the United pace and power that we saw after Project Restart with Bruno Fernandes, Pogba, Rashford, Martial in the mix. But Van de Beek definitely does look very quick on his feet and also wants to get ahead and get forward to that box and on the dangerous areas. 15 minutes, 20 minutes game time definitely would have made Ole happy looking at how he played. But yeah, Akshay, I again a wildcard question and something that we're discussing off camera. That Podence nutmeg on KDB. The floor is yours.
I mean, I spoke about it offline as well. The audacity to do that on a player of Kevin De Bruyne's stature. And so, what I spoke about earlier as well is what happens with young players is when they end up doing these moments in games, they tend to get overexcited or like they tend to lose control of the moment of the game. But Podence, he just kept his composure and dinked in a lovely cross for Jimenez too. And that is when he sealed his place in my team because I think there are concerns about him being rotated with Wolves signing Semedo today, but I think Semedo is more of a threat to Adama Traore, and we already know about Adama Traore's injury history. So I'm not sure why people are so concerned about Potence's playing minutes because when a player is playing so good, why would a manager drop him? And coming to another of the midfielders, I mean, I've been barking about him all week, but I still don't have him in my team. And I think I'll have to make that decision right now because Harvey Barnes is playing really well for Leicester. And an interesting stat that I heard from Abu Bakar is that he has the highest shots in the box in the entire league right now. So Harvey Barnes could be an interesting option at 7 million, where you have the likes of Zaha and James Rodriguez at 7.5. So also one of the forwards that I would like to talk about is Gabriel Jesus. So he was really unlucky again against Wolves because Rui Patricio pulled out an amazing save when Jesus hit a low drive from outside the box, and eventually he did manage to get his goal, which was also a record-breaking goal. So with Aguero out for near 2 months, so that is the initial report. 2 months, I think it could be more. I think Jesus gets maximum number of minutes in the league, and if we think he might be rotated, I think that will be the domestic cup. So Jesus is someone that I'm looking at right now if I end up tripling up on City. And yeah, Chris Wood is also another player that I would like to talk about because he scored again, and he's a typical Burnley striker, as in he'll not look good throughout the game, but when he'll get the chance, he'll finish it, and that's it. He wraps up those 6-7 pointers every week with an assist or a goal. So he could be someone you're looking at.
Yeah, definitely. And with an ownership of just 2.1, Chris Wood having that non-penalty expected goals and expected assists is 0.95, almost the maximum of after 2 game weeks. And he's only played one though, but with the likes, when you compare him with the likes of Jesus and Watkins and other differentials that are below 5%, that's a really good, return that you might get from Wood. And considering Burnley have not sort of favorable fixtures going forward again. Anand, from say a defense perspective or any other asset perspective, or do you feel that any differentials that you are targeting after having played the wild card, are you looking to bank your transfer or say expand your transfer on a differential asset?
So I personally feel that Taylor from Burnley is a really good asset. He was the one who gave an assist as well for Wood to score in the last match. And apart from Taylor, so Taylor has, apart why also considering Taylor is not just about his attacking prowess, but also Burnley as a unit defensively are quite solid. So Taylor going forward could be a great option as per me. And I think Watkins is somebody that one of my friends and our friends actually, Amit Sarkar, asked me to scout this guy. And now I watched a lot of videos, and what I found about Watkins was that he's really good with his left, right, and his head. So I mean, all these three things are kind of, if you're good with all three, I mean that's like a perfect requirement for a striker. And he's a little bit he has this flair about him. He's trickery, and he has a lot of speed as well. So, I mean, a really good striker in my opinion. He was the second highest scorer in the championship last season, and he's playing Fulham up next. Uh, if you guys remember, he was the one because of whom Egan got sent off in the last match.
Yep.
So it was him who was charging towards the goal, and then he was the last man, and Egan brought him down. And apart from that, he also hit a curler. So he's giving me good vibes. I think Watkins could be like a really good pick going forward, because eventually you need to understand that you have to bring in one of the cheapies in your team. You can't just go with all biggies, all essential. I mean, essentials could be, yeah, but you can't just go with 8.5 strikers or midfielders of 9 or plus at every position. You have to bring in someone who's cheap. So I think Watkins for me is the one. And Melier is really impressing so far, impressive rather so far. But again, with Leeds, we never know what's going to happen because they're still struggling to fit Koch in, who's a defender signed from Germany. So he's still settling into the Premier League. So let's see what happens there. But I think Melier has all the credibilities to become a top goalkeeper. Let's see what's next for Leeds and for him. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And Leeds do play Sheffield United in the next upcoming game week as well. And like you rightly pointed out, that an FPL manager cannot have 9, 10 uh, pound asset throughout his team. He does need to look at kind of differentials or cheap assets as well. And with that, we do move on to the next section of our episode, the cheapies, wherein we look at all of the FPL assets who are likely to perform or likely to give returns which are below a certain threshold of amount. So right off the bat, I do I mean, have a hunch or a question rather, and I'd instead of talking about any of these players, I'd like to throw it to Anand. Anand, I actually wanted to know Southampton after getting thrashed or letting in 5 goals against Spurs last game week. Do you feel that when you look back at last season when they conceded 9 against Leicester, and after that was a certain resurgence from that team? So do you feel that we have Adams and also Walker Peters here? So do you feel that the Southampton assets from a cheap perspective an FPL manager should look at, or do you have any other thoughts regarding who should be your cheap asset in your team?
I'm not in favor of Shea Adams, not because he's not a great, couldn't be an FPL asset or something like that, but because of the kind of striker that I like. He's not one of them. So I barely see him making those runs between the channels, and it's usually Ings who is doing all sort of stuff. And Shea Adams is somebody who's like, kind of he pops up from here and there, maybe in set pieces or on whenever the team makes a defensive error, he just pops up here and there, and that is what I've seen in him, whatever I have seen so far. So that is the reason why I prefer Bamford for that matter, because he likes to run between the channels, and there is a soft side as well for Bamford because he uh, runs throughout the game, and because of so much of efforts and everything, he's won my heart. And because of that reason, not just that reason, but his energy throughout the game is just impressive, and I like that kind of player, who's going in absolutely at all guns blazing. But coming back to your question regarding Southampton, like you mentioned about the Leicester thrashing them 9 goals last season, what would happen next to them? The thing is, they are still trying to bring in Salisu, a centre back, and he's not fitting into this team, and they don't have a lot of pace in behind. So be it Bednarak or Stephens or Vestergaard, they are not really pacey. And the kind of game that Southampton likes to play, they like to play really intense, pressing kind of a game. And the manager has recently said that we would struggle this season if we don't make more signings. So the manager, the mood in the camp is right now that they need more players. They've also lost Højbjerg to Tottenham, who was quite influential for them in the middle of the park, at least in terms of organizing his team, and also they're lacking some kind of leadership as well in between. So I personally feel that they would attack and they would score goals. That is something which is there in the manager's system. He likes to attack with a lot of intensity and everything, but then uh, I feel defensively it won't be a very, very a happy journey for them until unless they bring in a midfielder or a defender over there. But I think if you are looking for assists, which a lot of managers look from cheap defenders, I think Kyle Walker-Peters is a good one. He gave an assist last game as well, and even in the first match, he was unlucky not to give an assist. So he looks like a good pick as well. But yeah, there are plenty of more options, and at this moment, apart from Danny Ings, I really don't think going at Southampton players is a really good choice. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, it's great. I also thought that Southampton might not return to great football after letting in 5 goals against Spurs, but unlike last year where they did pick themselves up after that Leicester humiliation. For me, Martinez, the savior of my game week, and he might definitely be my this season's Nick Pope. I might just get him in my team as a set and forget keeper at 4.5, likely to maybe grow as well, and his ownership is slowly rising as well from I think 5 to 6% last game week to 8.6 already as we speak right now. Akshay, again, you and me kind of in the same boat, and maybe I am or I will take a feather out of your tactics considering your overall rank of 997 last season. Uh, what do you feel about the cheap FPL assets and like considering that you're also on a wild card and you get a chance to create your new team from scratch all over again? Do you think that players like Tossard, Cost, or any other of a cheap asset that you're looking at, or if not from these players, what other things that you're looking at for a cheap asset?
Yeah, so from what I have built right now, I am planning on a 3-5-2. So that would not ideally have a cheap striker because I would like to go with someone like a DCL and a Jimenez, or maybe an Jesus or an him or plus an Jimenez, rather than going with either of Bamford or Mitrovic, because those guys are playing for. At the end of the day, you have to look at the teams they're playing for, and no matter how good Leeds are attacking wise, and Mitrovic, he might be at the end of maybe the focal point of Fulham's attacks, but over the course of the season, I do not expect them to score a lot of goals. So that is where that is the red flag for me when it comes to cheap strikers. And coming to Shea Adams, he disappointed me in the first two game weeks. So he has amazing underlying stats, but people are expecting him to fire in the upcoming game weeks, but I really don't see that happening in quite often. It might happen once or twice, but it's not going to be a regular scenario. And coming to Costa, that cracker of a goal, the first goal off the bar went inside, amazing goal. Even the second goal, lovely finish from a cutback from the left. Really good to see youngsters like Diangana lighting it up in the Premier League, because that is something that we wanted them to come and do. Because what happens with young players is they do well in the Championship, but when they come to the Premier League, the stage is too big for them. But players like Diangana and Pereira, they've stepped up for West Brom, and that's where the quality of the player comes out. So Emi Martinez, yep, I think he could be the Nick Pope. I already talked to you about that, so he's in my wildcard game week team.
Yeah, makes sense as well. And talking of wild card, I'm really excited to announce FPL Escapade as a family is really excited to announce that we were lucky enough to win a giveaway from Fumni Analytics, their elite package, where it's a great tool to analyze your FPL team and FPL assets going forward in the other game weeks. We've just been granted access. This is our very first video wherein we are using their analytics to predict the wildcards and expected points as well. Me and Akshay are both playing our wildcards going into this game week. Almost half a million managers have already played their wildcard in the previous game week, and according to Fumni Analytics, it's a total of 66.6 predicted points with a team that is on your screen with McCarthy in goal, Trent, Saiz, and Doherty, like we spoke about in the defense, Fernandes, Grealish, Salah, Traore. When I read those names, they're kind of out of the box. But yeah, I'm not going to, say anything against the leaders in the analytics business and the football analytics business as well. Mitrovic, Jimenez, and Jesus completing the playing 11 looks a great team. Akshay, any out of the box picks that you think are here in the team or which you might consider going forward, considering Fernandes and Grealish being featured in this team?
Yeah, so just a side note to our viewers that these projections might be misleading when it comes to the choice of players, but there's a reason why they are there. There are underlying stats and underlying numbers that are used in algorithms and projections that eventually end up in a team sheet like this. A clear and obvious missing piece of the jigsaw is maybe a City midfielder in Kevin De Bruyne or Sterling. So that is something that you can maybe change. But apart from that, I think it is a very solid team with a decent structure, decent core in Salah and Bruno, and Trent, Doherty, and that defense is really good. So McCarthy could be an option. Maybe you'd like to switch to a Ryan or a Martinez, but I don't know. Like McCarthy could be an option. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And Anand, between the three of us, we know that you've been tinkering around a lot with the Fumni analytics tool. So I'm not really going to ask you about the players that you see on your screen because you've already played your wild card and we've talked a lot about the assets already. What are your 2 cents about Fumni analytics and all the entire experience that you've been using it? I know it's been just a little time, but right on top of the back, what do you think about their tool, which I find to be amazing?
Yeah, absolutely. I just agree with you on all points. The way they put in all those graphics just makes it really special. Because see, at the end of the day, you can do a lot of coding and you can produce a lot of projections and everything. But to back it up with such kind of graphics makes it look really presentable. That's something I like. Apart from that, I think the kind of facts, the intriguing stats that they provide is absolutely amazing as well. And I would definitely not advice might not be the right word, but I would definitely request all of you guys playing FPL to just go on to Humni Analytics and just give it a go. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And they have a lot of features that FPL managers can try without having to sign up as well, to actually show what kind of value do they bring to your analysis and to your team as well. So yeah, definitely we'll be digging further into Fumni Analytics. We are working behind the scenes as well to bring all of our listeners and viewers better statistics and more in-depth analysis using their platform as well. We really do thank them again for being a part of the FPL Escapades family and providing us with their elite package of data analytics. And with that, boys, we come to the end of another episode. It's been great. The journey is going good. Not really as we expected. Not the assets that we wanted to fire did fire. Some of them did not. United, for one, as the trio supporters that we are, personally was not the best starts. I mean, one of the worst starts to season, but yeah, definitely a long, long way to go. 37 games in hand, 36 for the other teams as well. A double game week might be on the cards very shortly as well. So yeah, with that, we really thank all of our listeners and all of our supporters. So for them that they keep tuning in to support us, we do this for you. We hope that we've been able to provide you some value through our podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We have a Discord community. Feel free to join. We have viewing parties. We talk. There's a lot of jibber jabber, and definitely have a great game week ahead from us at FPL Escapades. We hope you liked this episode and have a good one. And most importantly, may your arrows be green. Thank you.